welcome to another episode of Flipping Tables. Today we have another preview of a game coming very soon to Kickstarter, and this is a game called Annapurna, Leave No Trace Behind. This is a game all about climbing the Annapurna mountain range. It's a game by Becca Horovitz, and this is a fun. It can be played cooperative and it can be played competitive.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about the difference between the two in just a little bit.
Both. Two rule books here, one for competitive, one for cooperative, which is really cool.
So we played through both. We played competitively, we played cooperatively. And the game basically is very, very easy to understand once you play through it. It's a very easy game, a little bit of challenge going on here, a little bit of maneuvering and trying to outwit your opponent and be the first one to the peak of your mountain without leaving any trace behind. And we'll talk just a little bit about what that exactly means. But this is the layout. You have your cards, which are color based on your meeple. So I like to play as the red, so my cards are red, and that's what my cards under here. These are all the red cards. But there's also the blue cards, there's green cards, and there are gold cards as well for whatever.
For 2 to 4 players.
Actually wood, because it's the plain wood color. So 2 to 4 players. We played as 2 players. So you set up a mountain. Everybody sets up a mountaintop. And the goal is to move your meeple up the mountain, and you flip over the cards as you're moving up the mountain, and you do what it says on the card. For example, if I chose to do this one first, I have to pick another climber to take a random card from your backpack and put it in their backpack. So Tico is now going to be able to take a card from my hand. The backpack are the cards you start with in your hand that are not part of the mountaintop. And he would put that in his backpack. Now my meeple stays right there. When we talk about leaving no trace behind, as you travel up the mountaintop and flipping over cards, you're going to see that each of these cards have the left or the right side, the white or the black of the yin-yang. So in this particular case, these 2 cards would cancel each other out because there's 2 white and there's 2 black. So during gameplay, when I'm done that turn, I can take these 2 cards off the mountain and place them in what's called our cache.
Yeah.
And that leaves no trace behind of my climb up the mountain.
That's called the sweep, which is, you're cleaning up, you're making sure you're not leaving,
that's right,
your footprint on this beautiful mountain.
That's right. Yeah, and you're trying, you're keeping the beauty of the mountain as you climb up, leaving no trace behind. That's the subtitle of the game. That is how this is played. In this particular case, I could also sweep this card because there are 0 yin-yangs on it, which also equates to 0. So I can also remove that card, leaving me essentially in this position as I climb up the mountain. The object is to be the first one to the mountain, leaving as few traces behind as possible. Yeah. As you win, whoever wins the most or leaves the least amount of trace behind, meaning in this particular case, if I'm up at the top and I happen to have those cards removed, I left 1 trace behind. Maybe Tico left 2. So I would win 3 flags.
You win the ascent.
I win the ascent. I would get 3 points. Tico would get 2 points. And the first person to 9 points,
9 total points wins,
wins the game. So once we finished that particular round, we would then reset our mountain and start again. Once I reach the top, though, there's also opportunity for me to sabotage his ascent if he's not at the top yet. I can take cards from my backpack and play them on his mountain to mess up his ascent.
Yeah, so whoever reaches the peak first, they then, until the other player reaches their peak, have the opportunity to basically play the take that card.
That's right.
And screw that person over, sort of cut their rope as
right.
they're climbing. That's
because it's up to 4 players, so not everybody's going to reach the peak at the same time. So if you're the first player to reach the peak, you are now in a mode where you need to keep your status and try to mess up everyone else's climb in order to win. There's some really great cards in here. Do you want to show our 2 favorite ones?
So these are the 2 favorites. So we've got on the yin side, you spotted a Yeti.
This is a great. Well, one, these are great cards, but also they're the worst cards obviously because you're spotted a Yeti, but these are 4.
Yeah, so you
They're
got
the
a clear
only 4 cards
Yeah.
in there, 4 whites. But then there's the opposite of that one, Don't Poke the Yeti, which is 4 blacks.
Yeah.
And one game, I luckily had them in this position. I flipped over, actually, I flipped over this one first. You spotted a Yeti. And in my next turn, I happened to just move over this way. And I had Don't Poke the Yeti. And it's such a great, it's such a chance to get that. But you spotted a Yeti, Don't Poke the Yeti. And then these 2 cards obviously canceled each other out.
Yeah.
It was really, really fun. It was a really great little, it was a neat play, you know.
It's worth pointing out, too, you don't necessarily need to have a 4 with a 4. You can have a 4 that will cancel out 2 2s or a 3 and a 1 as well.
Right.
So you're just balancing out the numbers.
Yeah, so if I had a black 1, and I don't know if there's a black 2, there's another. So if I had this 1, this happened to be blue, but just pretend this was my case. 4 whites, I have 4 blacks with these ones in turn. These all cancel each other out and are removed from the table.
Into the cache.
That's right. Now, here's what we thought about the game overall. The game it's simple. It is an interesting game. It's fun, but we honestly found that with only 2 players, there's a lot less strategy going on. You're not playing against anyone else, just each other. So I felt like there was a lot less strategy. And I feel like the more players there are, the better the game will be.
The more challenging. We found that in the cooperative mode as well. We won every time.
Every time.
Every
like
time
there
we
was,
played. It wasn't even. I didn't feel as difficult at all for us to play as 2 players. Again, I think that may help. Having 4 players would absolutely be a little bit more difficult in order to try to balance everything out in a cooperative mode. But 2 players, it really felt a little too easy.
It was too easy as 2 players. I think this definitely will benefit from more players, from 3 or 4 players. As a 2-player game, we found it a little too simple. Maybe that'll change because, again, this is a prototype. This is a pre-release. Some things may change once it hits Kickstarter, once it hits retail. But as it stands now, really great components. I think the artwork is lovely. I like the cards. Everything's easy to understand. It's very clear. There's
thematically, it works. I love the chunky meeples too.
Very chunky meeples. I actually really like these are quality meeples.
And they're big. They're like you could cut those things in half and double your meeple count.
And have 8 players.
You have 8 players, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, quality-wise, the components are really good. I just didn't find it super challenging. Thank you. But it's still a fun game. It's not a terrible game by any means.
No. I actually really enjoyed the game. I think that I guess we're not used to winning as often. Maybe that's the thing. When we win, we think there's something wrong with it.
We thought we were doing something wrong because we kept winning all the time. And it's like, no, it was right. It's just, I think it is. It's a good game. It's a very interesting game. It's a great concept. It's very unique. That was what makes it so different than other games we've played, and sort of we came from thinking of other kinds of games, but it is a very unique concept. Climbing the mountain, the yin and the yang, and matching cards and balancing things out. I love that concept. There's just something I think maybe needs to be tweaked to make it more challenging.
I think some sort of a mechanic to tweak the gameplay a little bit to challenge a 2-player game a little bit more.
I think so too. I think you're right. Again, that is Annapurna. That is a preview of the game coming very soon to Kickstarter. And keep an eye on our channel as we schedule an interview with Becca to talk a little bit more about the game and the history behind it. So check our channel out soon for that interview as well. Thanks everybody for joining. And if you like games like Annapurna, if you like videos like this, give us a subscribe right down below. Check out those other videos over there. We would appreciate your subscription. Click that bell icon wherever it is
somewhere, and
you'll be notified when we publish new videos, which we are doing 5 to 6 days a week. Thanks everybody for joining us. See you at the top of the mountain.